Hello, everyone. Welcome to the information session for the Postgraduate Certificate in Ecological Survey Techniques. Just to give you a bit of a heads up as to what's coming, this session will last about 45 minutes. So the first half of that, I will give a bit of a presentation to the course and staff and who we are and what we do, and introduce you to the program we have prepared. And then you will be able to ask questions. You can already throughout the session use the Q&A function to ask any questions that I might not have addressed or missed. But I will dedicate the last 20 minutes or so to answering those questions. So if I don't answer straight away, just bear with me, okay? In the room, I also have with me Sarah and Theo, and they are the administrator team for the course, and they will also be answering your questions as we go. So this is us, and it's lovely to have you all here. So thank you all very, very much for coming. Just a few words about me. I'm Dr. Joanna Bagniewska. I am a zoologist by training. I specialize in mammals. I've been working as a lecturer for a bit over 10 years now. And when I'm not lecturing in zoology and ecology, I do science communications. This is my my other passion. I have first studied in Germany, in Bremen, and then moved on to study at Oxford, where I have completed my master's and my doctorate. I'm originally from Poland, hence the complicated last name. And so if any of you are non-native English speakers, I can definitely empathize with that. I have been working um, for a year and a half now as the course co-director of the Postgraduate Certificate in Ecological Survey Techniques. I am a departmental lecturer in environmental science, and I also work for the graduate school right here in Oxford Lifelong Learning. And I love not only researching animals, but also bringing all the fun facts about wildlife to the wider public. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a fun and engaging session, even if it's mainly about how we structure the course. Okay, so on to this. Um, a little bit about our program. Something to bear in mind is that we have designed it so that it is possible to study it part-time as you have a full job or other commitments, family or otherwise. It takes 1 year to do so. So it's part-time, 1 year, taught largely online, and how it works I'll get to in a second. So the level that we're pitching it at, it's a postgraduate certificate, as I have mentioned, which means that it's worth about 60 credits at level 7 FHEQ. We call it a third of a master's degree. So there's a research component, there's a taught component, but overall, because it's part-time spread over 1 year, it's about a third of a master's. The way we teach it is the learning experience starts with a 1 week face-to-face, very intense field work session in Oxford, and that happens in the second week of September. And after that, after the entire cohort got to know us and each other and got to experience a bit of work in Oxford's Whiteham Woods, then everyone disperses back to wherever it is that they're normally based, and the rest of the teaching continues online. And the next intake will be for September 2026. So we've had our cohort for this year coming into Oxford last month, and it was fantastic. We got rained on so badly, but it was still worth it. We had a great time. So if you want to come and do it, then please do apply for next September. who is this course for? This is something that people ask us a lot. So we do get a very, very wide range of students, and they come from backgrounds from all over the world. So some people already have a lot of experience in ecology, some people don't at all. And I've kind of in my head divided our students into three kind of personas. So there are those who want to use it as a career progression. So very often they have maybe come from an undergrad where they don't feel that they have had enough of a practical component, and they want it as a step towards their PhD, for instance. We've got ecologists or environmental managers who maybe didn't get that much of a formal education in the field that they're already working in. They wanted to upskill in that way and still use it for professional development. But we also get people who want to change careers. So we do get participants from really all walks of life who have at some point had an epiphany that ecology is actually a fantastic career, and they want to pursue it, which is great because we usually get quite a few teachers. We have architects. We have programmers. This year we have a dentist. So it's really a variety and a mixture of people. And then we also have those who are maybe quite happy with their career, which is nothing to do with ecology, but they're interested enough in pursuing it as something on the side that they decide to engage in a course like that. So it's a great variety of students, and we really enjoy getting this multitude of perspectives, because very often, even if people decided to take their career in one direction, they've always had this lingering idea that they really love being outdoors, working with the environment, working with wildlife, and they have pursued this through maybe volunteering opportunities or hobbies or other sort of engagement. And then they realize that a course like that would be able to help them do the switch from their current career to a different one. So we always get a really good mix, and people gel really well, and they work together and they help each other. And so the value of this course is not just the fact that we're there to teach you and give you new content, but also the networks you create throughout. And we have people from all over the world. It's absolutely incredible how we get students who will arrive here, obviously, for the face-to-face week, and then go off to Dubai or Melbourne or Berlin or New York, and just then dial in from different places. So when it comes to the course structure, we have, as I mentioned, an in-person week in Oxford, and this provides an introduction to the idea of ecological survey techniques. We spend 2 days at Whiteham Woods, but we also go to Port Meadow, which is a lovely site in Oxford. We go to Trap Grounds. So there are 3 days mainly spent in the field, and the rest of the time is spent on learning GIS and also getting a general introduction to what would be happening to you over the next year. So this in-person week is very intense but very rewarding, because we do get to sample all sorts of taxonomic groups. We do anything from vegetation survey to bird ringing to bat trapping to insects, reptiles, amphibians. Everything is there, and it takes us from the wee hours of the morning when it comes to bird ringing to sometimes quite late at night when it comes to bats. So it's not a holiday. but it is fun. Bring your rain gear and bring your warm clothes because you never know. So after that, once the face-to-face very intense module is finished, there are online modules, which is where the rest of the teaching is happening. There are two core modules, and we will talk about the online modules in just a second. And then there are two options that you can take out of a choice of four. And after the modules are done, you will be doing a field project. Now, this field project is your pied de résistance. It's your biggest opus for this program, and it involves you designing a study, a survey of a particular species or taxonomic group that you're interested in. And then you would go into the field and actually collect the data, analyze it, write it up, very much like a scientific report. You will have, of course, the support from us as staff members. So apart from me, there's my course co-director, Dr. Thomas Hesselberg, and we also have the departmental lecturer in GIS, Ollie Burdekin, as well as a whole host of tutors who will be teaching you on various modules. And sometimes we're able to also gain supervisors from other places as well. If you have a very specific taxonomic group in mind that maybe we're not specialists in, then we will be able, more often than not, to find you a supervisor who'd be able to assist you. And so you can have 4 online tutorials with your supervisor that will help you with the design and the development of the project. We provide some assistance with not just experimental design, but also with data analysis. So you won't be left to fend for yourself. And we have had some really, really amazing projects, and some of these have been published actually. So it's always really great to see the outcomes of those. Right now, I'm busy marking the ones from the previous year's cohort. So let's see how they're doing. Okay, but when it comes to the online teaching, you will have 4 tutor-led online modules. So each of these is a 5-week course, and it is done online asynchronously, which means that there are reading materials provided for you and other resources. Most of the interactions will be done via online forums, and then each of the courses will have 2 live sessions. So as an online but synchronous at the same time, the tutor will dial in at the same time as the students. And we do appreciate that people are scattered all over the world, so we try to poll for the times which are the most convenient for most of the people. We sometimes can't get everyone the most convenient time, but we try our best. And also we do bear in mind that, say, our vegetation tutor is in Tasmania and our mammal tutor is in Canada. So we try to make it so that they don't have to dial in at 5 a.m. But sometimes, well, they can be persuaded every once in a while. Okay, so the core modules that you would be taking are plant biodiversity and habitat assessment methods. So it's all things vegetation. And the other core module is data analysis. So that's an introduction to statistics. Even if you do have some experience with stats, that's always fantastic to see. But it's the course is designed in a way to start from the very basics. So don't be scared if you don't have that much experience with stats, and to build up from there. So there's something useful for everyone. And then you get a choice of 2 modules out of 4. And these modules are mammal and reptiles surveys, and then birds, and then fish and amphibians, and finally invertebrates. So so people do choose 2 out of 4. And apart from your cohort joining, each of these modules is open to standalone students. So people who are only interested in one taxonomic group, or they're likely to maybe use that as a taster for the entire PG cert. You can take all of these modules as standalone ones, and if you do take them for credit, then that module, if you later on decide to do the full PG cert, would count towards it if you choose it to count towards it. If you're not happy with your grade, then you can do it again. Okay. So these are your online modules. We normally say that the commitment for those 5 weeks while the modules are running are between 15 and 20 hours a week. And I'm saying this now because every time we do stress that at interviews, and we do highlight it every single time. And every single time somebody is surprised at how much work there is. So how much work you need to put in will vary a lot, well, on your personal learning preferences and how much experience you have with ecology or with that particular taxonomic group. So if you are quite an experienced ecologist, then you might perhaps require less time on the background reading than if you're a person who is doing a career change from a completely different field. So do bear that in mind. There is quite a lot of work when it actually comes to the modules. But having said that, they are designed so that they can be done alongside a full-time job. Okay, what happens with at the end of these modules? There is an assessment. So we start off with a formative assessment, and a formative assessment is not contributing towards the final grade of your program certificate, but it is there to be treated kind of as a trial run. So this is the assessment that you will get at the end of the face-to-face module, and it is based around GIS. So mapping for those of you who don't know much about this topic. What will be required from you is a formative assessment that's 2,500 words. And it will be marked. You will receive feedback, so it will give you an idea of what is expected from you. And thereafter, all the assessments will be summative, which means that they will contribute to your final grade. So what the assessment is varies a bit based on the modules that you choose. Usually it's an essay, so 2,000-word essay. In two cases, it's instead a presentation for the bird module, or a scientific poster for the amphibians and fish module. So, but apart from that, the core, the essence of the assessment is the same. And because we asked you to design a survey for a particular taxonomic group, so if you're doing mammals and reptiles, it's, pick your wallabies or your Komodo dragons or whatever it is that you want to survey. Pick an area, decide exactly what it is that you would need to do, what your research questions are, and so on and so forth. And then at the end, you will be doing your field project, which is 5,000 words. And then on top of that, you will need to submit a 1,000-word journal, which describes your take on what it was like to do the field work. And the journal, while not graded, is still mandatory to submit, and it just provides us with a fuller, richer story of your experience throughout this project. So it's always very, very interesting to read. Okay. While you're at Oxford, you can make the most of the resources that we have here. And that includes the resources from the Bodleian libraries, which are not just physical libraries, but they have a very, very quite incredible set of resources available online. So you will be able to access scientific journals and books and non-academic works at your leisure. If you are in Oxford, and I appreciate that not everyone is. If you come from quite distant areas to here, but if you do come to visit, you will be able to access all the colleges, various events, talks, etc. A lot of these talks will also be available online, so you can definitely access those. And then at the end of the year, after you have very successfully completed your degree, you will be invited to the Sheldonian Theatre for an award ceremony. And it's just an amazing experience. As you can see, this is one of our students who has picked up her degree this May, I think, and I'm there in the background handing it over to the next EST graduate. So it's always lovely. Okay, and then our students, who, as I have said already, form a really nice network, and they support each other, and they very often work together. Have generally had very positive experiences with the course. Then our alumna says, if you're inspired to work in ecology and conservation and you're looking to upskill your field research and survey planning and data analysis knowledge, it's definitely the right course to do so. And I can't stress it enough that yes, the students do go on to start projects together. Some will help each other with different study sites. Some will just collaborate on all sorts of levels. So it's a real added value. It's wonderful to have such close-knit cohorts. And I think that's the value of the face-to-face week in Oxford, that even though the rest of the teaching is done online, we do get to put the faces to the names, and it's not just dry anonymous people on the forums, but actually real colleagues that you have been able to interact with. Okay, that is pretty much it from me at this stage. So if you would like to have more information, please do visit our website, and you have the generic EST email address that will take you to Theo and Sarah, who are already here on the course. And right now is your time to do questions. Okay, there's a question from Sarah. How applied is the statistics for ecologists module? Do students work with real ecological data sets as part of the learning? Yes, they do. I am so glad that you have asked. So the stats module is the brainchild of my co-director, Thomas Hesselberg, and Thomas is an arachnologist. He works with spiders, so you'll have a lot of spider data sets to work with, but also not only spider data sets, there will be other very much ecological data sets that you will be working with. So it's not either purely theoretical data or data from completely different disciplines. The way that it's done is with ecologists in mind. And then another question also from Sarah, is remote sensing introduced or practically applied in any of the modules within the Ecological Survey Techniques program? We do cover it in some of the modules, and this is done with based on the tutor's knowledge and experience. It is covered on a per module basis, but there isn't a designated remote sensing module, although it is something that we're exploring for the future, and we're hoping that we might be able to do some drone work for next year's face-to-face week. So we do have a tutor lined up for that, which is good. Someone didn't quite catch me when I was talking about the course being done along a full-time job. Yes, that is correct. So we have designed it so that you don't have to so you can be flexible with your own learning. This is why we have structured the course in an asynchronous way, which means that you have your individual learning units and you follow it at your own pace, and then you write in the forums. We do have a rough outline of the schedule. We suggest that you cover this topic in this week and that topic in the next week, but ultimately it's down to you how you cover it and how you deal with it. But in the end, yes, the course is designed to be done alongside a full-time job, because we can't expect people to just upend their lives and come to Oxford for a year. And so that's why there's the inbuilt flexibility. There's a question about whether people need to have some sort of a degree to apply, and is it decided by interview which people get a place? Yes to both of these. So this is a postgraduate certificate, which means that you need to have already completed an undergraduate or equivalent. Yes, please note that in your application. If you do not have an undergraduate degree, but you have a wealth of experience that would be equivalent to it, we would be able to consider that as well. But please make that clear in your application. However, a lot of this will be also coming up during the interview. So the application process starts off with you applying, completing your application, and then it's usually Thomas and myself who will invite you for a short, about half an hour interview, where first we ask you questions, and then you have a chance to ask us a few questions if you have those. We try to make it not very terrifying. And in fact, no, we're not particularly intimidating people, and it's not the function of the interview to scare you. We just want to get to know you a little bit better. So it's yes, there is an interview for the applicants. We have another question. Is GIS covered as a standalone module? It is, but the GIS that's a standalone module would fall outside of the EST course. So this is the only one where you can't just take the GIS module ahead of time for credit. We do have a standalone GIS module, and it's also taught by Oliver Burdekin, so it's the same tutor, but it's not given as an optional module in our portfolio, and so because it's taught in person during the face-to-face week, you would not be able to get it for credit, also because the GIS assessment is a formative one, so you wouldn't be getting a grade from it anyway. Having said that, if you're only interested in doing GIS and you want to explore options within Oxford Lifelong Learning, yes, there is an option to do that. So two ways you can look at it. Yes, there is a GIS module, but unlike the other modules, you can't take it ahead of time for credit for this course. Do we have students with additional or different learning needs? We do get students with different learning needs, and we try to cater to those as much as possible. We try to look at each of the students individually, and of course, in each scenario, we talk to the applicant and we ask what it is that they require. How can we adjust? Is it a reasonable adjustment? Can they still fulfill their the learning objectives with that adjustment being made, and then we go ahead and work with them. So the broad answer to your questions is yes, we do have students with additional learning needs, but the detail of that would be looked at on an individual basis. Question from John: what are the possibilities of the final 5,000 word project or some derivative being published in an academic publication? Is there any support from this? Yes, is the answer. So if you're the sort of person who wants to go into a more academic field in ecology, which it seems that you are, if you tell us in advance that this is something you're very interested in pursuing and this is your goal, then we will be able to work with you at the onset of the project and guide you straight away into how we can get a publishable paper out of your project. And of course, there are no guarantees because lots of things happen. You might not get the right data, or it might not end up being the most amazing project. Although why shouldn't it be the most amazing project? But or reviewers might not like it. But we've had a lot of success with publications. We usually get a publication a year, so a publication from each cohort. Last one I was involved with was a student who was looking at bats in Leicester and how street management, so whether street lighting is dimmed or not, or whether a street is wooded or not, influences the behavior of bats. So that made it into a publication. So definitely a possibility. How advanced is the stats module? Is the material provided to cover the foundation, or is it head-on? It starts at the very beginning, and it moves up fairly quickly. So it's designed to give you a very broad overview. You're not required to have much knowledge of stats at all. We are not here to scare people away from stats. We are here to support them. So we actually got a lot of very good feedback from stats where people who didn't think it would be for them or were terrified of maths before found it a very easy to follow course, and it's a nice exercise to build a scaffolding to get you from quite a basic level into definitely a level where you can actually publish your project if you so wish. So I think it's a nice supporting structure. Next question, also hold on. So there's a question about scholarships and bursaries for PG Cert candidates. Unfortunately for this one, it's a little bit tricky. We used to have a scholarship, but it's not there anymore. We're trying to work on one, and hopefully we'll get a new scholarship, but it's not certain at this stage. But yeah, most of the funding is, as I said before, obtained privately, or if people have scholarships, it's from their governments, or they have their employers funding them. So these are the options that we have encountered from that perspective. But also a question about for those who graduated a while ago, would the department accept non-academic references? Yes, that is absolutely fine. A question from Alan: can students still take two of the courses for credit and then apply for the PG Cert? Can the two taster courses include core courses, so plant biodiversity and habitat assessment? And are you offering are you considering offering a PG diploma and maybe an MSc down the line? Yes, 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 are the answer. So yes, you can take 2 courses for credit, and then apply for the PG cert. And yes, one of the courses can be plant biodiversity. In fact, plants have been incredibly popular this year, and we are running a second session of that module in April. So if you're really into your plants, you can go ahead, knock yourself out in April. You've got a vegetation module waiting for you. And yes, we are working on a PG dip, so postgraduate diploma, right now, but it's a slow process because it involves designing courses. We do have some modules that are already in place that we would use for this diploma, but we're looking at least a couple of years before that comes to fruition. And then, of course, once we do get the PG dip, a full master's would just be a step away. But yeah, it's something we're looking at, but it's not going to happen for the next academic year, unfortunately, Alan. So there's Douglas saying, you mentioned that some students partly use this as a step towards a PhD. This is one of the reasons I would be looking to do this course. Could you please tell us a bit more about the students who have, for instance, continued their field research project as a PhD at Oxford or other universities? Yes, so we do have students who are definitely interested in an academic career, and they do go ahead and especially if they are very academically minded and they want to publish their project, they will come to us straight away, and they will say, okay, this is why I'm doing this degree. I would like to get into a PhD. I would like for my project to be a publication. I am driven to do that. And that having a publication under your belt definitely helps when it comes to PhD applications. But even without it, once they can demonstrate a very clear ecological experience, if they find the right supervisor and program, we're always happy to support them. We do write a lot of reference letters for students. It's always very encouraging. I shouldn't say that when students ask for extensions because they just got a job. They shouldn't be asking for extensions, but we do grant them because starting a new job in the field that you're training to do is fantastic. But I would need to mention straight away that you can't do the PG cert in parallel with another degree. So if you're interested in pursuing a PhD and you have already started, you can't unfortunately apply for this entire course. You could do the individual modules non for credit. But yes, people have definitely used this as a stepping stone towards their PhDs. I know that some have applied to Oxford. I'm not sure how many were successful because I'm relatively new as the director of this course. So it could have well happened just a couple of years ago, but not on my watch. But we have had successful students otherwise. Something that I didn't mention that I think is worth mentioning is that if you find yourself in a slightly different, I don't know, personal situation, or you have just gotten a new job or something has happened, you're expecting a baby, I don't know, you can extend the duration of your course via what we call a VIS, variable intensity studies. So rather than the course taking 1 year, it would take you 2 years. And there's no penalties for it. It would just take a bit longer. If you feel like you need to do that, then we do offer the option to this. Okay. There's a question from Rhoda. What proportion of the course is dedicated to terrestrial plant ecological surveying? So that would be the vegetation module. So that's one of your two core modules. That's I think the majority of it is terrestrial, actually. There's a question. Someone did the stats course as a standalone module for credit years ago. Can it still count towards a PG cert? It would depend on when you have done it, because they do have an expiry date. But I think Sarah is replying to you right now in her administrator hat, and she's the font of all knowledge when it comes to deadlines. So if you just hang in there, she will respond to you. So John is saying, will there be suggested text to read before the PG cert begins to reach a baseline ecology knowledge? Yes, we do send out a reading list, and this is also to motivate you to complete all your bureaucratic administrative side of things, because for some of the texts you might need your single sign-on to access them via the library. So that means you have to register with the university. But yes, we do send out a reading list, and normally at the interview we will ask you whether you have any experience with species identification. It's not mandatory, but it will help you if you do. And we would normally give you tips on how to go about doing it. So just for those of you who are thinking about applying and are generally interested in ecology, I would say doing a lot of volunteering work, practicing your ID skills, even with an app like iNaturalist or Seek by iNaturalist is very good. Or there's, let me just check on my own phone, because there's quite a few of them. OPSA Identify, another good one, that's especially for invertebrates. So just to get an idea of what it is that you might be looking at. And a lot of these apps, because they're based on machine learning, are not perfect, but at least they will give you a bit of an overview of what it is that you might expect. So I would say a tip, if you are considering applying and you don't feel like you're a very strong naturalist at this stage, is to just go out and check. There's a question from Maruda. Would it be possible to follow this course or modules in the course under an AFOX visiting scholarship program? Oof, I don't know the answer to that. I will pass you on to Sarah and Theo for this. If it would be possible, then welcome. So it would be lovely to have you. How successful are students getting jobs in the ecology sector after completing the PG cert? Asking because I am coming from another field of study, having a PhD already. Thank you for this question. So actually, we've had a student in exactly your situation this year. The student had a PhD in, I want to say, neuroscience or biochemistry, some sort of a laboratory biological science, and decided to switch to ecology. And around January we were writing references, and then yeah, they got a job within the year. So now they're pursuing their new job and are quite happy. But we did have another one getting a job quite recently, which of course meant a little bit of an extension on their project. But yes, I would say it's very usual that people are quite snapped up straight away as they're part of the as they're still part of the course. So I think we have a pretty good success rate when it comes to our students getting jobs. Also, a lot of them would liaise with the tutors that are in Oxford. They meet at the face-to-face week and use that as a springboard to further their careers a little bit. So, if you're into your mammals, you will be talking to me or to Bob Cowley and talking to the Mammal Society and seeing what the opportunities are there, and talking to Danny Linton, who knows everything there is to know about bats, and seeing what opportunities there are for you. And it's just amazing if you're new to the sector to keep your eyes open and to think about really what it is that you would like to work on, what you would like to achieve, and make the most of those contacts that you would be getting throughout the course. And also, this sounds a little bit snobbish, and it's not something necessarily that I would agree with, but Oxford University does open a lot of doors, which means that if you email someone from an Oxford University inbox, they are more likely to respond than from a lot of other addresses. And it's because people are snobs, and the fact that you are a student at Oxford doesn't make you any different to the person that you were yesterday when you're not yet a student at Oxford. But hey, but use that leverage to your advantage. So it's definitely something that does help. And a question from Julia. Are the organisms and ecological settings studied in this course local to the UK? If we're not from the UK, how can we get acquainted to this, and how can we apply the knowledge to our own native settings afterwards? So as I mentioned at the beginning, we do have students from all over the world. And while the face-to-face week's field work does employ techniques that naturally will investigate our local species, because we will be in Whiteham Woods and it will be quite difficult to find tigers there, but we will find badgers. A lot of the principles are the same, and the modules have been designed in a way that makes them very applicable globally. We are very aware that our students come from all over the world, and it would be a little bit unfair to all of a sudden just get them to narrow their perspective only to this not very biodiverse island that we're living in. So we have had so our tutors do have a lot of international experience, and they will cover methodologies that are applicable in different parts of the world. And our students have also been doing field projects in different parts of the world because this is where they are based. So we might have people working in Kenya or Australia or India, and it's not unusual, and they're using the methods that they have learned about throughout the course. So the only thing that's really very UK specific is that week of field work, where the organisms we're working with are in southern England, and there's not much you can do about it, but the methods that we use on them are applicable elsewhere. The apps for IDing. Somebody wanted to know a little bit more about them. One is called Seek by iNaturalist. So I, as in the letter I, naturalist. And in general, iNaturalist is a very good community to join because it's the data that you provide will then go on to be used by researchers in various contexts. So it's lovely in that respect. So one is Seek, and the other one is OBS Identify. So OBS as in observe, OBS, and Identify as in identify. So do look at those. Okay. I think this is pretty much all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being such a great audience. We've had so many questions. It's lovely. I hope I have answered all your queries, but if not, feel free to email us. So the est@conted.ox.ac.uk is the address to go by. And I am looking forward to seeing your applications. Bye bye.